We're going to talk about activities for all. Community connections for children with disability are essential, or as an interconnected life, as Kurt referred to earlier. As we've already mentioned, they can provide opportunities to experience belonging, foster friendships, help learn about the world, and most importantly, have fun. While society is becoming more inclusive and we still have a way to go, the family survey shows that children of disability and delay are not experiencing the level of participation that they'd hoped for, which is actually why I'm a little bit excited about this panel. We're obviously going to hear from representatives from Little Athletics Australia, Playgroups New South Wales, and libraries as community connectors to discover the impactful steps they've taken to include children with disability. And this can range from creating an environment and culture so athletes with disability have fun and compete fairly against their peers, to creating quiet corners, excuse me, to creating quiet corners and implementing transition strategies, or by helping children with disability thrive in accessible libraries. Today, we'll hear from each of our panelists again before coming together for a short conversation. I'd firstly like to introduce Christine McCombs, the Project Inclusion Coordinator from Little Athletics Australia, to share some of the changes that Little Athletics have been implementing. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Bree. Hi, everyone. Apologies for my camera. It's a little bit dark on one side. It's actually very light in here, so I apologise. All right. I've created some slides for you. So firstly, I would like to start by saying Coles Little Athletics Australia acknowledges the traditional custodians and all the lands on which we walk, run, throw and roll. My name is Christine and my pronouns are she and her. I joined Coles Little Athletics Australia in September 2021 as an inclusion project coordinator. I'm a big advocate in the inclusion space. I use my positive attitude and tireless energy to encourage diversity and inclusion in all areas of sport, but particularly at the grassroots of sport. I volunteer at disability sports camps, and I'm a long-standing committee member, plus the inclusion officer at my local Little Athletics Centre here in Queensland. I have 3 daughters who love little athletics, 2 with a disability and 2 which are Australian champions. I have seen firsthand the benefits that sport can have for our children with disability, and this is exactly where my passion comes from. A little bit about the project I'm working on. In mid-2020, Coles Little Athletics Australia started an exciting and innovative project for children with disability to experience true inclusion at Little Athletics in a simple, fair and meaningful way. This project is being funded by the National Disability Insurance Agency and Department of Social Services, along with Sport Oz. The True Inclusion Project is based on the values of Little Athletics for fun, fitness and be your best. We've been working hard on 3 main components. The first one is education and training to build capacity to deliver true inclusion. We have been active in the Little Aths community this year, developing workshops and webinars to paid staff and all of our volunteers. The second component is providing information, practical resources and tools to access online to deliver inclusion, which if you haven't heard yet, we've just launched our Inclusion Hub website about 2 weeks ago, so that's very exciting. And finally, a research-backed trial of an additional ranking system with the aim of children with disability experiencing true inclusion at Little Athletics in a simple, fair and meaningful way. We have recently completed this trial where we worked alongside the University of Sunshine Coast and University of Sydney. So why? Why did Coles Little Athletics start the inclusion journey? Well, children with disability in Little Athletics told us that they felt they were treated differently to their peers in a way that made them feel excluded. Therefore, we wanted to improve the way we can include athletes with disability so that they know they are valued and can enjoy everything Little Athletics has to offer. So as mentioned earlier, the first component of this project was educating and training paid staff and the broader Little Aths community. Our educational inclusion workshops have been a resounding success and have been instrumental in promoting inclusion in athletics, equipping participants with valuable knowledge and strategies to create a more inclusive environment for athletes of diverse backgrounds. Following on from this success has seen us convert this content into webinars. The first webinar is how to make your Little Athletics Centre more inclusive for athletes and adults. So topics covered include understanding the impact of additional needs in Australia, adapting our communication style to flex to different people, implementing strategies for teaching new skills that cater to diverse abilities, and practical strategies for giving feedback and managing a group of athletes. The webinar aims to equip volunteers with the knowledge and tools to meet the needs of Australia's diverse communities. The second webinar has been the most popular so far, How to Modify Events at the Centre for Athletes with Disability. This webinar focuses on making Little Athletics events more accessible for athletes with disability by providing practical modifications that can be made at the centre. The webinar provides strategies for modifying events and understanding equipment. Real-life examples and practical tips are shared to help participants unlock the true potential of inclusion at their Little Athletics Centre. The third webinar is about the multi-class competition. So for those who do not know what the multi-class competition is, it is a format used to create meaningful competition for athletes with disability. It's actually also used in the school system as well. The multi-class system allows athletes with different impairments to compete against each other. So for example, an athlete with short stature can compete against someone who is hard of hearing. This webinar provides a deeper understanding of the multi-class system. We explain that athletes are classified based on how their disability affects their participation in athletics, and we detail the process for classification. For officials and volunteers, we outline how to implement the baseline scoring system. The webinar is for athletes, parents, volunteers, and officials, and aims to demystify the multi-class system. And we've also had school sports attend as well, which was very exciting. These webinars are designed for volunteers at Little Athletic Centres, but can be extrapolated across community sport. And as I mentioned, other sporting bodies, school sports, and disability organisations have attended these workshops with very positive feedback. This was great to see, as a lot of this content can be used in other sports, schools, and in the community. They are now available on our website, and we encourage you to share them widely to spread their knowledge and promote inclusivity in Little Athletic Centres. Next, I'm excited to show you some of our new and exciting Inclusion Hub, a place where diversity, equity, and inclusion thrive, a place where we can all come together to learn, grow, and drive positive change. Designed with end users in mind, the Inclusion Hub is easy to access, packed with information, and gives centre volunteers and member associations practical ideas to implement straight away. The Inclusion Hub contains over 60 new pages of content with written information, supported by pictures and videos, which will also support families and coaches. And of course, we couldn't have created all these wonderful resources without having a built-in accessibility software feature, as we wanted it to be accessible to all users. And today I'll go through an overview of the content and layout. The Inclusion Hub has 6 sections. The Disability and Health section, we provide a descriptor of common disabilities and diagnoses and health conditions. We show how the athletics can be beneficial for people with disability and provide simple hints that volunteers might find useful. The Inclusion and Diversity section, we offer practical strategies for specific cohorts, such as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, LGBTQA+ athletes and families, multicultural athletes, and ways to harness diversity and foster a positive environment. The Hub focuses on building capacity of volunteers, coaches, and officials to support athletes with disability. And as such, we include topics such as balance and coordination, high and low tone, sensory impairments, and communication essentials. This is a modern approach and encourages adults to think about the person first, not focusing on their diagnosis. This information is housed in the Abilities section under Volunteers. Additionally, we have provided clear descriptions of each event with step-by-step instructions and simple modifications for volunteers to easily teach new athletes each event and adjust events for inclusion. This is also all in the abilities, there is also an All Abilities warm-up too, which I'm very excited about. This is found in the Events section under Volunteers. We have strengthened the supporting information around para-athletes competing in multi-class events within the current competition and regulations section as well. We have resources section for our families and centres, which has printable materials, links to reputable information and guides for centres who want more detail to support diverse cohorts. There is also a guide to NDIS and athletics. This one I personally find very helpful and wish I had this available to me years ago. Overall, the Coles Little Athletics Australia Inclusion Hub is a one-stop shop for inclusion. The final part of our project has been trialling an additional ranking system with the aim of children with disability experiencing true inclusion at Little Athletics. This is in addition to the first, second, and third typical placings. So this was trialled last season at selected centres across Australia. The pilot study revealed that it provided a fair and meaningful contest between children with disability and children without disability. Children, parents, volunteers, and officials all enjoyed it, and most children with disability experienced success with that that were not experienced in the traditional ranking method. We are currently in discussions as to whether this will continue, so please stay tuned. So I guess in closing, I found that it's always been a fight for inclusion for my girls, no matter what the environment is. So taking on this project, I've been very invested in making sure that Coles Little Athletics Australia has all the resources and supports available for all the staff, centres, coaches, and families Australia-wide. I don't want other families having to fight like I have, and really want the need of inclusion to be a thing of the past, where everyone is treated as equal. I encourage you to check out our Inclusion Hub and webinars and to share these across the community. I truly hope that this will encourage children with disability to participate in sport, as I've witnessed firsthand the benefits of sport for children with disability through my daughters Hallie and Jada. Hallie has defied the odds from a 6-year-old girl with physical and intellectual disabilities who couldn't run 10 metres to now a national champion and a 7 times Australian record holder, which even includes the 1500 metres. So it's a pretty good improvement from 10 metres to 1500 metres. She's gone from needing to have her hand held whilst doing every event in athletics at centre level to having the confidence and strength to go out to national championships on her own, and she's only just 11 years old. Her twin sister Jada has autism and has also grown in confidence and is a national champion for aquathons. As you can see on the screen, Hallie in the bottom left corner in that picture is competing at a Little A's carnival in her wheelchair, but fast forward to now and she can run cross-country distance. My 3 girls have made so many friendships through sport and learnt resilience. I often say that a morning at Little A's is free physio, OT, and psychology all wrapped into a couple of hours. All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks, Christine. I love that. And I love when work and passion meet together. And I can see why this project's been so successful. And I did want to say I've actually already had the chance to utilise some of the resources. My son's school have their upcoming athletics carnival, and I was able to share the webinar. I think the teacher watched this webinar number 2. It was very well received, and there's many excited students and teachers looking forward to trying some of the modifications and hopefully enjoying some more participation for the whole school community. We're now going to hand over to Himadri. Himadri is the Program Lead of Diversity and Inclusion from Playgroups New South Wales. She'll be sharing the inclusive approach that Playgroups is taking and how it benefits children and families.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. So I'm Himadri Dega. I am the Programs Lead for the Diversity and Inclusion portfolio at Playgroups New South Wales. I'm a mom of 2, and I've also got lived experience with disability with my nephews back in my hometown in India. But before I start my presentation today, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which this webinar is taking place. In the case of Playgroup New South Wales, it is the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I paid my respect to the elders past, present, and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and water of New South Wales. Playgroup New South Wales. So we are the peak bodies of playgroups all across New South Wales. And last year only we celebrated our 50th anniversary, which is really a great milestone, and that is a really awesome milestone for us to hit. And in terms of our service, we work for children and families all across from all backgrounds, particularly mainly targeting the first 2,000 days of the little children's well-being and development is crucial. So that is definitely a targeted time frame for us. In terms of service, we provide play-based learning for social and emotional development for our children, social support for our parents and carers, and also bringing connections so that we build a community for all our families and children. And in terms of playgroup, we have playgroups for everyone. So when I say everyone, there's some sort of playgroups for every families, be it intergenerational playgroups, be it a rainbow playgroups, be it supported playgroups, be it a community playgroups. So we have something for each and every families and the children to meet their needs. So in terms of benefits of playgroups, it is quite massive. There are so many benefits of playgroups, but today I would just highlight only a couple of the highlighted benefits of playgroups. Number one is about playgroup is so much important when it comes to the early childhood development, from their emotional, social, physical, language, cognitive development, from all these different arena. For example, even for the kids to be able to build a Lego, it helps them to have those hand and eye coordination. And for example, even to go for a dress up, that also help them to be creative, help them to understand how to do problem solvings. Like a Play-Doh, playing a Play-Doh event, that is also such a great sensory experience for the kids to have. So definitely when it comes to playgroup, this play-based approach is quite helpful for their earliest development. The other aspect, which is really quintessential, is about how we provide that platform for our families, our parents and carers. They are able to interact with each other. They're able to learn from each other. They're in that same phase where they share that understanding and build that network of friendships, and they grow this is the lifelong learning that they happen to build. And also playgroup, it is quite affordable. It's free, of course, most of the time, and it's very also in terms of doing different activities and events. Playgroup is like, for example, messy play. This is something that we don't like to do it at home because it's quite messy, but at playgroup you can do whatever you want. So all these different range of resources and play-based activities really help the families to come together and enjoy, have a good time, and create those bondings. So this is in a nutshell the key two aspects of playgroup. In relation to inclusive approach, at playgroup, all children, all families are welcome. For us, regardless of their background, inclusion means a lot to each and every one. So its inclusion happens, and we feel that each and everyone has got the capability, be it the parents, be it the child, they all have got those unique abilities to be able to give back to the community, to be able to share, to be able to feel a part of the group, a part of the community. So in our playgroup, we always welcome each and every individual's abilities, their strengths, their contribution, and we always ensure to have those safe place so that they can thrive, they can grow, they can learn. So it's very important for us where we create this sense of belonging atmosphere, so that our families and our children, regardless of their any kind of challenges and background, they feel that this is a place for them. So in nutshell, this is how we all feel that inclusion is very important, and we respect and we appreciate, we acknowledge everyone's abilities at playgroup. In relation to playgroup, the inclusion aspect, how do we see is, first I have put this information about rights of all children to access and participate in programs, which today one of the mother, I think Heather, she clearly mentioned it's just the rights that they all have got the right to access. It's just as simple as that. Inclusion is a right. So definitely for us, inclusion is a right. It's not something nice to have, or it's not something charitable to do. It is something that it just belongs. They need to have it. And also we definitely uphold the United Nations right for children and youth. So this is something we always uphold when it comes to what we do and how we do at all across in Playgroup New South Wales in all of our programs. Now, the other aspect is the role of the educators, which is so important that when we have our educators, because most of our community playgroups, supported playgroups, our rainbow playgroups, intergenerational playgroups, they're all facilitated playgroups. And these educators, they play a very key role when it comes to creating that warm, welcoming atmosphere for all families and children to be able to participate fully. Now, also our educators, when they design these programs, when they design the programs for their group sessions, it's very important for them to be able to know the different backgrounds of these families, where they are from, the needs of the different childs, what are their strengths, what are their abilities, based on which they build their programs. So our educators play a very key role when it comes to running those sessions to create that kind of environment for everyone to be able to participate. And also very important, which we do as part of our practice, is that our educators, they do a regular reflections about their group sessions every time. So in those reflections, it's very important for them to be able to do unconscious biasness check-in with their own self, to be able to see how they can do better, or to be able to cherish some of those great achievements, milestones. So this is something very important for our educators when it comes to inclusion practice at playgroup, to be able to demonstrate, share, and and make it more an ongoing practice of what they do and how they do. Collaboration with service providers. So in relation to inclusion, how it works, for example, we have different families where children with disability, sometimes they feel their OT would be, they find it, they would like to have their OT coming to their play groups and have those interaction over there because they feel safe, because they feel that's a safe place for them to have those kind of engagement and interactions. So when it comes to the child's development, our educators will be supporting those service providers for them to be welcoming them in our play groups, to be able to have those discussions, to be able to support that child's needs. So there are a range of things that our educators, they do ongoing basis, where our collaboration with different service providers plays a crucial role as well. Working with families and communities. This has been quite a talk throughout this whole webinar, and should be. And this is again a key focus for us. So when it comes to working with families, as I mentioned, our educators, they always make sure that it's a co-design programs. They want to make sure that whatever activities they have got on the day, is it something it's based on the needs of the child? Is it something culturally, is it sensitive, or is it something they would like to modify? So when it comes to working with all our families, our educators and our programs are very, very mindful about how we organize those activities and events. So definitely there's a lot of elements we have got when it comes to running these playgroup sessions. We definitely take into consensus with the families about the day, about the sessions that we run with them. Other aspect is about setting the scene or environment and resource, which is about, again, creating that environment, how we make it more inclusive. So, for example, like in a playgroup setup, when you go, you'll be able to see like there are different corners for different child to be able to make them feel comfortable and try. There can be a quiet corner, there can be a messy play, there's a more sensory related groups, or there are different toys, and this range of activities, and there's a range of resources that we set it up so that families from each and every background and the children with each and every different needs, they feel comfortable, they feel safe, and they feel that that's a place for them to be able to learn, experience, grow, and to be able to have that sense of satisfaction to be able to be part of that group. So it matters a lot when it comes to creating that kind of environment. And we have also like different resources. When it comes to resources, we also tie up with corporates like Jellystone, who provides us those sensory related experience. So we also partner with different corporates depending on the kind of products they have, so that we can cater to more kids with different needs. Play Together. This is another project of us. It's a whole, it's a project, it needs our own presentation itself, Play Together. But today, in a nutshell, what I can say about Play Together is that this project is all about providing range of training, resources, skill set, and a lot of tip sheets, information that we provide to our families, that we provide to our volunteers, our workforce, to be able to be more inclusive, to meet the needs of diversified background, people with cultural and linguistically diversified background communities. So this Play Together is very, very instrumental when it comes to upskilling the whole sector for us. So we run a lot of training and workshop. There's one happening on this Wednesday. We're running another workshop. So if you're free, please join us via our website. And when it comes to Play Together, we also have got an appointed an inclusion officer who support families on one-on-one level to help them out to be able to transition to mainstream community playgroups. So Play Together is a very, very instrumental when it comes to getting that support and services from Playgroup New South Wales to be inclusive. We also have got translations and interpretation services to cater to the needs from coal communities, as well as we also use National Relay Service. These are the services we have incorporated so that we ourselves, we can build our own skill set and make it more as in from organization's point of view to be able to meet the needs of children and families from all backgrounds. So this kind of inclusion steps we have taken so far, but definitely there are more to do. But at this stage, this is in relation to the inclusion aspect that we have done. So this is the case study actually, which is a very beautiful case study. There's a link as well when it comes to Wagga Wagga, that place-based Aboriginal playgroup. There's a whole case studies that we have developed to show how we do inclusion and how we cater to the needs of different families. So it's a great case studies, but this one is a mother of two, and she's a custodian to one. And it's from a Wagga Wagga case study. So they're from Wagga Wagga. And it's a beautiful story. And this is Howard. So I would like to say what she felt when it comes to playgroup and its impact in her life. So the question that we asked about, what were your first impressions of playgroup? She said, I have a custody of my niece, so started to come to the group with her as I was new to being a parent. I had no kids prior to getting Ivy, so needed all the support and help I could get. How was the playgroup most impacted your parenting experience? I don't know how I could go through first few years having Ivy if it wasn't for the program. They not only taught me how to play with her and to be fun, but also how to place boundaries. Ivy's mother was using while pregnant, so Ivy was born with a few issues and delayed development. The girls were so good with the supports I needed and also invited CROSM early intervention services, OT, early links to groups so that they could assist Ivy in a safe and secure place. I have since had 2 children of my own, so now being called all 3 to groups. They have helped me prepare Ivy to transition to kindergarten, and also the other services that wrap around the playgroup are next to none. This is just one of the examples. There are many. So I really encourage all of you to go through these case studies. They're really inspiring stories that we have got. These are her words, so I wouldn't like to replace. Concluding what I would say, go where you are celebrated, not just tolerated. And this statement is very much supported by what Tracy said about Aubrey, about when she said that no, that particular organization couldn't support the needs of her daughter, so she went to the other service provider. So definitely there's a life examples of what we kind of, it's just it's just a second man that's saying that, definitely there's a place for everyone and we shouldn't tolerate any kind of unjust, unfairness, discriminations. We all have this right to be inclusive, to feel safe, and to feel that we belong and thrive, to live a full life that we can. That's it from myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Himadri. We've had a few comments that they love that quote that you just shared at the end there. I guess attending a playgroup is almost like a rite of passage for children and for parents for that matter. So it's really great to hear the inclusive approach that Playgroups New South Wales is taking. Our last panelist today is Kylie. She's joining us from Libraries as Communities Connectors project. This is a project nurtured by Plumtree Children's Services. They've created an online course, which Kylie's going to share a little bit more about, containing strategies, videos, and other resources that make libraries and their programs more welcoming for families of young children with disability or delay. I'll hand it over to you, Kylie.
Hi, so I just want to introduce myself. I'm Kylie Aikens, and I'm actually a peer worker at Plumtree Children's Services. So you might have met me through the Now and Next program, or perhaps you've met me through the Libraries as Community Connectors project, or some other parent-led programs that we run. I also do a little bit of work with Kindred and some of their parent-led workshops at my time as well. So thank you for having me here. But I just want to make an apology as well for Elizabeth Cater, who is an integral part of Canada Bay Libraries and a real champion of inclusion. And she's our librarian that actually couldn't make it today. So I'm going to be talking for her, but later we're going to watch a video of her that really captures many of the positive changes the project has influenced. So you'll get to see Elizabeth anyway. So firstly, I just want to say that all families have a right to have equal participation in the community. And Plumtree Children's Services saw a real area for improvement looking at children's programs in public libraries. And with the funding from the Department of Social Services, they were able to address this need, developing an online learning for librarians to do free of charge. And you'll be able to see that in our slide of our website, and shows that you can just go into the Plumtree Children's Services website and go to Libraries as Community Connectors to see that learning. And there are modules in there that you can do. So I'm going to explain a little bit of that now. So the content was actually made collaboratively and with an advisory group. Many of them have children with a disability or developmental delay themselves. And we also use peer workers on the project like myself. So parents who have a real lived experience and understand what this would actually mean having inclusive libraries. The modules were designed for library staff to really make the library more inclusive. But you may also be suitable for early childhood intervention practitioners, allied health professionals, council policymakers, and of course, families and carers. We actually encourage families to have a look at the modules because, as you'll see, there are many resources and videos, and you'll really find them useful. We have resources and videos around creating sensory environments, around reading support, social stories for public libraries, as you'll see in a moment, and videos of the library experience, and even some support around how to respond to any negative comments that sometimes families might hear in libraries. We had a real large number of library staff from 10 LGAs across New South Wales in the pilot, and with most of them actually taking up the mentoring that Plumtree Children's Services offered. Their Plumtree therapy team were wonderful at mentoring. And one of the biggest types of feedback that we actually had from the library staff is that they really just want families to come and to talk to them. They want to know how they can best support families and support children. They've actually asked if families come and speak to them to do it maybe in their quieter times when the story and rhyme time sessions aren't on. So maybe on the days we just come in to borrow a book, or maybe before and after those sessions. And they also want families to know they have many different types of resources available and are happy to order in from other libraries too if there's something that you'd like. You know, the library staff are really open to learning about how to support families and to support sensory needs of families. They want to be really disability aware, so they'd love you to come in and introduce yourself, and they want to offer you and your children resources to support inclusion. So that's what they're all really about. And the more families that use their libraries, the better it is for the staff. They'll learn from you, and it's better for families and for our communities as well. The other thing I just want to add is that libraries are no longer that quiet place where you're actually hushed, okay? Libraries are lively, they're dynamic places of fun, of learning, and of connection for the community. So libraries really offer opportunities to meet other families. You can build friendships, you can feel that sense of community and belonging, and you can build real positive social relationships in libraries. So if you have a look at the library's programs, they offer different programs, including school holiday programs, which is coming up soon, and special events. And if you haven't tried your public library activities, then I really encourage you to go in and try it out and see how you go. And, you know, you've got nothing to lose because it's all free. If you also just have been to your library and had a little bit of a below average experience in your library, then we'll encourage you to go back and really try and give them another go, communicate, talk to the staff. Your children's library is there to really listen to hear what matters. So we really want your genuine feedback. But also, you know, if you've done our training modules and had a look at those modules on Plumtree's website, maybe you could just share that with them as well. There is a lesson on inclusion there. There's sensory lessons, so you could include those and just ask them if they've seen the website. And this might be giving them an opportunity to do the lessons themselves if they haven't. And the other thing I just want to say is that all public libraries are a little different. So if your local one doesn't suit you, there's always a possibility that there's another library, a different type of library in your LGA. So you could try those out because it might be more suitable to you. Some libraries are bigger and some are smaller as well. So it depends on what suits your family. Something else we'd like to add, as you can see on the next slide here, is that during this project, Plumtree supported renowned children's author Donna Rawlins to write a book with inclusive themes about the library experiences and for families. The book is actually entitled Our Library, and it's available to purchase through Plumtree and other bookstores or also online. And we also sent out a copy to every public library in Australia. And this has been a real great addition to libraries, but also an addition to some school libraries as well. So your challenge is just, if you're in your library, have a look and see if you can see Our Library book. And you can see here Donna Rawlins reading to the children, and in the next slide you'll see that they went to Bankstown Library. So this is some of our libraries as community connectors staff and the librarians. Just really celebrating having Donna there, which was a real privilege. In a moment, we're going to show you the video of Elizabeth Cater. And this is a real story of change, you know, because she has been such a champion for inclusion. And so she's implemented all the wonderful different positive changes, and she's used all of the modules and the resources to do this. So this video captures some of the things that they've been doing and some of the things that they've learned from the Libraries as Community Connectors project as well. So we'd love you to just have a listen to that in a moment. But what we're really hoping for is to hear from other families, to hear if they've seen changes in their libraries, if they've felt a different sense of belonging in their libraries. We're also wanting to encourage families to go in and try again. So to let us know if you have or haven't had a positive experience in your libraries. So what will happen is over the next few weeks, we will be inviting families' feedback. So please just have a look out for this in our newsletters and in our social posts as well. That would be great. And you can get in touch with us at marie@plumtree.org.au. Marie's there, she's a part of one of the peer workers and one of the leads in the Libraries as Community Connectors project, and she's there ready to talk to you as well. So please get in touch with us and email if you can. But what we're going to do now is we're going to have a listen to Elizabeth and just see what's been going on in libraries. Thank you.
So inclusion has been a big part of library initiatives. We've always kind of focused on inclusion and accessibility, but at the same time we knew that there were lots of gaps in our services and in our programs that we needed to fill. And this is where the Library as Community Connectors project has been able to help us bridge those gaps. For many years now we've had a STEM program in place. It's called the Lab, and it's specifically designed for teens with high functioning autism, and it provides this wonderful mentoring opportunity in areas of computer programming, digital design, as well as gaming. It was around about this time that Marie and Anne from Plumtree got in touch with us. So the timing was really perfect. So the impact of the Libraries Community Connectors program on our library service has been an amazing transformation. Our early literacy sessions are now just an abundance of wonderful, engaging and interactive tools, so inclusive tools. And of course, the outcomes from that is a highly engaged, a very lively session. The numbers have just been phenomenal. Inclusion these days is no longer an option. So if you are one of those library services where you're looking, for a place to get started, the Libraries as Community Connectors program offers you that perfect starting point. The learning content is there and the support is there to get you underway. And on top of all of that, it's free. It's available online. You've got your peer workers, but you've also got access to your specialist support staff. So it doesn't take a great deal to go a long way. And this is where the program, really helps you to identify all that.
So over the next few weeks, we're hoping to hear from families about their experience in the libraries and to see if they've seen any changes in their local libraries. And we're wanting to encourage you to try your library again if you've thought, oh, my kids are too noisy, or I can't take my children for sensory reasons. Whatever it might be, the accessibility of your library is there. So we really want to hear your experience. And we're going to be inviting families to give some feedback in a very short survey. So just look out for that in our socials online. But that would be wonderful just to get, and some of our newsletters so invite you to do the survey. It would be wonderful to hear back from you as family.
Thanks, Kylie. I really want to go to my local library and see if that book's in there and maybe get one for school. And you did mention a survey, and I know we talk about surveys all the time, but it's so important that we gather this information so that we can make these changes and make sure that families are being supported and included in the right way. So I'm mindful of time. So before it gets away with us, I was hoping to ask a question or two. And as mentioned in our earlier panel, families report that community attitudes are one of the biggest barriers to community inclusion. I'm hoping maybe Christine, how have you dealt with this within your service?
I completely agree that community attitudes are one of the biggest barriers to the community inclusion. All little athletic centres are run by volunteers. So this means that we are relying on volunteers to understand what inclusion is without possibly ever learnt about it or being exposed to it. Therefore, Coles Little Athletics Australia recognise the importance to upskill volunteers within our community. And when I'm talking about volunteers, I'm referring to centre committee members, coaches, age managers, officials, and parents and carers. So basically anyone who rocks up and helps out at a weekly centre meet. So we started by listening to the families with children with disability to ensure we understood what the barriers families were facing or have faced in the past. We then collaborated with each member association in each state and territory to upskill the paid staff in each of those states, as they're the ones that are on the ground visiting the centres more often than us at the national body. We then targeted volunteers by providing them with necessary resources to feel confident when it comes to inclusion and diversity. And the resources we've created support centres with pre-season action plans to the first point of contact with new members and families, and all the way through to the end of the season. So these resources are delivered in our workshops and webinars and are also available on our new Inclusion Hub, which is via written content, templates, short videos, and links to other sporting bodies, and also online training courses, which are very important. And as I mentioned earlier, the aim is to equip our Little A's volunteers with the knowledge and tools to meet the needs of Australia's diverse communities and to break down all those barriers, including the community attitude.
And I think it's a bit like, until you know better, you can't do better. And sometimes people just respond to people with disability based on what they know or what they've grown up to know. So it's really nice that people are open to change and to learning. Kylie, I saw you nodding along there. Is that something that the libraries as community connectors have found, like that some of the community attitudes were one of the biggest barriers? And is there a way that you've had to deal with that?
Yeah, look, I think, once upon a time we did think about libraries being a quiet space, and I think still some people think that it should be a quiet space. But if you go into your local library, you'll see that it's not a quiet space. There are quiet spaces to go to, but most of our libraries are for fun, for interaction, for acquiring knowledge and learning and having an experience. So I think one of the things that this has done, because it's a free access to these modules online, the staff and volunteers have been able to access this, and then they can gently just redirect, the people that are coming into the library to just let them find a space over here, or just to support families that it is okay to make some noise. There's colouring in over here and rhyme time over there. And just knowing, I've seen some libraries actually put up signs to say, if you're looking for a quiet space, this isn't it. That's just a classic to have it in front of your library. But anyway, this project is definitely helping. And there is in the module, there's lots of videos to go and have a look at. And there is a section on, if you do experience a little bit of a negative in your library, it does happen from time to time. Someone might say, can you keep your child quiet or whatever? Just to go back over to the staff, and there is some suggestions in modules of what you can do, because it does happen from time to time that people do have that honest thinking around how libraries should be. And there are sections in our libraries for being quiet, but I think we know our libraries are for fun.
I'm glad you've mentioned that, because I must admit my son loves the school library. Wheels around it in his wheelchair or runs around in his walker, and I have taken him to our local library, but I think it's more me, and no one has actually said for him to be quiet, but he gets very excited and very vocal. So it's more me thinking it needs to be a quiet space. So I'm glad we've had this chat today. It's been really wonderful to hear all the steps that your organisations are taking to include children with disability. What has the response been from the community? Marjorie, did you want to speak to this one?
Well, when it comes to response from the community, I would say there are a lot of interventions that matters, like systematic interventions, your organization interventions, and individual interventions. So when it comes to the changes of the attitude in the community, I can definitely say that we have experienced so many individual interventions for people to do their own, from their own side, to do the right thing, to do the things that makes it, make it the place for them to be inclusive and for others to be inclusive. For example, in one of our play groups, where nowadays the children they say in sign language is goodbye because of the one of the child who only knows the sign language, how to say goodbye. So they have incorporated those kind of languages in their play group to say goodbye to the child. So there are a lot of changes that we can see at ground level, at individual level, that is happening, but complementing with what as an organization we can do. For example, which the presentations I gave today that displays the kind of role that we play. And also when our community play groups are run by the volunteers, we have got certain recommendation and guides where clearly the expectations are up in front about anti-discriminations, about being inclusive. So the expectations are quite clear. So we all have to take steps towards it. So, and I can definitely say what we have experienced, it is moving. It might be slow. It may not be as fast as you'd love to say, but things are happening on the ground, and each drop of the water in the ocean counts. So it is definitely heading in the right direction.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I always say that I think we're raising the most inclusive generation yet, and it is heading in the right direction. Maybe not as fast as we'd like,
Yes.
but definitely is in the right direction. Christine, what has the response been from the community?
The feedback's been overwhelming, actually. The Little A's families are happy to see that we've taken their feedback on board, and that we're putting all the necessary steps in place to support the whole of the Little A's community. The member associations in each state and territory, those staff have expressed that they are confident that the information gained from the workshops will increase participants of children with disabilities, which is great to hear. And centres have expressed enthusiasm in implementing these new strategies and ideas back at their centre for next season. I guess in relation to our inclusion workshops, the workshop attendees told us that they highly value our inclusion workshops. Attendees expressed gratitude for the opportunity to learn from their peers. The feedback received reflects the positive impacts of the workshop for the community and in promoting a better future for athletes with disability. So overall, the feedback from attendees underscores the value of effectiveness of our educational inclusion workshops in fostering inclusion in Little Athletics. I guess as a result, we had the biggest number of athletes with disability attend our 2023 Coles Australian Little Athletics Championships in Melbourne. The multi-class athletes who attended told us that they made new friends and had the whole state team cheering them on, which made them feel part of the team and part of the community, which is, just wonderful to hear. And we definitely stay tuned. We definitely plan on making it even bigger and better next year. So,
I'm excited too. We have tried little athletics before for my son. He has a physical disability, and at that time he had a frame runner, so he was only competing in the running. But now, after watching the webinars and seeing some of the modifications that are available for some of the other activities, I think we'll be giving it a go again. So,
from a national point of view, we've given all the states a go ahead. Include these frame runners.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to Little Athletics season. Kylie, what about you guys? What's the response been from the community? I'm sure it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, and I think Elizabeth's video kind of sums up how it has been. We've had some incredible response, but we're looking for many more. I want families to know, come back into the libraries if you haven't. Go back in and see what they've got to offer. School holidays are coming up soon. So, there's always looking for activities. And I think as parents, sometimes we overlook our library.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go in and have a look. I think what Elizabeth just shared, inclusion is no longer an option. So just come in, make yourself aware of what's available in your library, talk to the staff. The staff are ready to listen to you. And if they haven't heard of the learning module on Plumtree, Libraries as Community Connected website, why not share it with them? Why not just point them in that direction so they can learn more?
Awesome. And all of those resources, there'll be links to that on the sent out after the conference. But it's just so pleasing to know that there are helpful resources available for family. Thank you so much for sharing what your organisation's doing and what resources are available for families. At Kindred, we're actually developing our own Include Me digital handbook. This will be a practical guide sharing tips and families' experiences to empower other families on a similar journey to advocate and support their child's inclusion. So keep an eye out for that. There's surveys coming out. There's a digital handbook. There's lots happening in this space, which is really wonderful. But before we wrap up, I hand the reins back over to Mohammed. I want to read a quote I read the other day by Muna Abdi, and it is, "It's not inclusion if you invite people into a space you are unwilling to change." So thank you, Christine, Himadri, Kylie, and your respective organisations for promoting that change. Thanks a lot, guys.